Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for the Making Progress channel. Today's video number 32 is in the category of relationships and dating, and it is titled 4 Reasons to be Selfish in a Relationship. My God, if that's what we needed, is an advocacy for selfishness. Ayn Rand is rolling around at her grave, approvingly rolling around at her grave. 8 things to talk about. First, to get a consensus with you guys about what we all want out of relationships, to get some consensus built around what selfishness is and why it's important. Then we'll take one stab at each of the 4 reasons to be selfish in a relationship, and then a summary and implications discussion. So let's get right to it. What is it that we all want out of relationships? It's actually profoundly easy to define in very basic terms. Terms basic enough to really help us navigate the intellectual landscape here and make some pretty good decisions, I think. The goal of a relationship is to make sure that everyone in it is taken care of, that everyone's needs and wants are met to the degree that it is possible, to meet them in the real world as much as possible. If you think about it long enough, and as far as I can tell, the only reason you'd ever want to be in a relationship is so that you can get some needs and wants fulfilled with it that you cannot get without it. After all, if you can get needs and wants fulfilled without something, why would you spend extra time and energy to attain it? Maybe just erroneously. But if you thought it through, the only reason to ever have a relationship is to get some needs and wants fulfilled that you cannot fulfill without that relationship. So that's an important thing to understand. Relationships are about mutually fulfilling each partner's wants and needs. And here we get to the definition of selfishness in this context. Selfishness here I would like to mean something like being concerned with and acting towards your best interests. For example, are you fed? Are you clothed? Are you comfortable? Do you have an income stream of some sort that can support you? Is your life on track to meet some of your major goals for your life? Do you have generally positive affect / mood / emotional disposition? And do you have a high degree, or at least a tolerable degree, of emotional stability? So in other words, selfishness here means, looking out for yourself to make sure you're okay. Automatically, selfishness has to rate at least 50% of the value of where you put your time in any partnership, in any relationship, assuming equal value of each partner. Because if selfishness attends 100% to your needs, we are already taking care of 1/2 of the purpose of a relationship. That is, if you take care of yourself and you're taken care of, the other partner is not taken care of at all. Let's say, at least we're halfway there. That's a pretty good thing. But doesn't that mean that if someone has needs and you have needs, aren't you supposed to unselfishly take care of them and they take care of you? And then because you swap caretaking, both people are taken care of, and then everyone gets what they want out of the relationship, and that's really good. And in that case, if we just took care of each other, then there would be no need to invoke a requisite for the kind of toxic concept of selfishness, because selfishness has a bit of a dark side. Selfishness is often, maybe not even erroneously, misconstrued as egoism or greed or self-centeredness or all these other bad things that we understand to be not good. As a matter of fact, if someone describes you as selfish, almost always they're using it pejoratively. They're trying to insult you. It's implied that it's negative. So if you could just take care of each other, from each according to his ability to each according to his needs type of Marxist shit, which has some absolute value, maybe we could just not need selfishness, and that's a fine consideration. The problem with that consideration is it runs aground of at least 4 what I would call very compelling reasons why we should encourage at least a decent amount of self-centeredness for every partner in a relationship, if our goal is still to make sure everyone in the relationship is taken care of. So just to perseverate on that for a quick minute to make sure we're all on the same page. The goal of a relationship is not to take care of the other person. The goal of the relationship is that in the end of all sums of interactions, everyone in it has their needs met as closely as possible. Who does the need meeting, be it the person themselves or their partner, is an open question. Some kinds of needs are best done to you by someone else. Some kinds of needs are best done and best taken care of by you for yourself. So some kinds of needs are probably better done for you by yourself. And then when you are taken care of, you are further empowered, potentially even, to help your partner that much more. And that brings us into the 4 reasons that selfishness in a relationship, really green check marks, are really a good way towards that goal of everyone is taken care of. Not just yourself, but everyone in that relationship. So it does sound nice that if we can eliminate selfishness altogether and just care for each other, everyone's taken care of. But if we care the most possible about how everyone in the relationship is doing, especially the other person, we want there to be lots of selfishness for at least these 4 reasons. I'm going to go over these 4 reasons super quick, and then I'm going to get into them at length. So, first reason how selfishness can help you in your relationship is that you are in the best position to know what you need. You are, nobody else, in very many cases. Secondly, you're in the best position in most cases to do most of your own self-care. Third, you can only help others best, usually when your own situation is sorted via selfishness. And lastly, if you are the kind of person that can dependably take care of themselves, your partner can rest assured that you're going to be okay, even if sometimes they can't get to taking care of your needs. Let's deep dive into each one of these to make sure we're all on the same page about how we're understanding them. So first one, you're in the best position to know what you need. On average, not always, but mostly. What does that mean? You know when you're tired, hungry, thirsty, bored, scared, and so on, better than your partner does, or at least sooner, because you're the first person generally notified about these things by your brain, which happens to sit in your head and not your partner's head, unless you have a really weird relationship. Holy shit. Praise you for that one. If your partner is always checking in with you, you can tell them what you need when they do check in with you. And so remember, they're asking you because they also assume you're in the best position to tell them what it is you need. You know your desires better than they do and sooner than they do. So if they're going to ask you about what you need, they had better be doing it often if they really want to attend to you. And interestingly enough, if we assume total selflessness, let's say you want to be selfless to someone in your relationship, your significant other. What are you going to do? You're going to ask them what they need. Honey, can I get you a drink? Are you thirsty? And they will hypothetically scan their own, here's the punchline, very selfish desires and wants and render an answer for you. No, thank you. I'm fine. So you just encouraged rife, unabashed selfishness in your partner with that question, because it's them that you want to care for as the significant other. And to you, their selfishness is of utmost importance. So it sounds a bit hypocritical. We don't want to be selfish, but we want to encourage selfishness in our partner. If you really didn't want to be selfish as the partner, you'd say, oh, honey, you don't have to ask me about if I want a drink or not. And then you get into that back and forth where everyone assures everyone that they're okay, and then no one gets their drink and everyone dies of thirst. That makes no sense at all. But I would contend that it's totally fine to encourage mutual selfishness. When I ask my wife, hey, honey, are you thirsty? It implied that I want her to be selfish about her answer. I want to really know if she's thirsty or not. And that's okay because your partner loves you and they want you to express what you need because they understand you know better than they do. Or sorry, that they know better than you do. about what they need, no matter how cringy and selfish that seems. Remember, you're encouraging selfishness in other people when you are altruistic to them. If you give money to the homeless, you are assuming a wild selfishness in them. As a matter of fact, a tacit greed, because they want money. Isn't it bad to want money? Shouldn't they say no thank you? It's crazy, but they need the money, right? So selfishness turns out to be implied in almost every human interaction, even if we kind of want to shun it because it's a little bit gross. So at the very least, even if you do everything for other people in your relationship, let's just keep it simple, two people in a relationship, you do everything for the other person, nothing for yourself. At the very least, you being vocal about your needs is a big deal because your partner is going to ask you about what you need because they're trying to be not selfish, but make sure you're taken care of. You're trying to be not selfish and make sure they're taken care of. The result of that is you're both selfish in communicating what you need to the other partner. It's just that you're no longer starting that communication of, honey, I need this. You're waiting for them to ask you and then saying it. Does that make you not selfish? Well, that's kind of crazy. It doesn't do that at all. It just involves a time delay and maybe a bit of politeness. So, next, and this is a big one, you're in the best position to help yourself. Because we had this hypothetical just now of, well, no one's going to help themselves. They're just going to help the other person. But if I help you and you help me, we're all helped. We're all sorted. Everything's good. But that often works. But most of the time, it's the least efficient way to do things and the least effective. The most effective way is to attend to your needs because you're in the best position to actually help yourself. Not only do you best know what you need, you're also the best at knowing how to get what you need in most cases. And often you have experience in getting it before, exactly how you like/need it. You know how to sort of position your pillows in your bed and you know where you like your toothbrush, and you have tons of experience doing all those things all the time. You're the best at doing them. What is it like? You want something done? Do it yourself. That's not entirely true, but it has a little grain of wisdom there, which is like, you know what you want. And if you're the closest person to, drumroll, yourself, and you're the most about what you need, some selfishness is just really effective at getting the job done, plain and simple. And if you don't get what you need out of a certain attempt to satisfy your needs and wants, the feedback loop for, oh, this didn't quite work so well, it was off by the following factor, let me correct and adjust and get what I want, is almost instant because it's all internal, all within one individual. There's no need to communicate anything to someone. So for example, let's say you're in a car and you're trying to adjust your own seat for comfort because it has one of those digital adjuster thingies. Is it better for you to just move it yourself and stop when you're comfy? Or is it best to have your team of butlers, like I have, follow me around everywhere? They're just outside camera view right now. Is it best to have them make the adjustment for me without having to communicate with someone and say up, down, no, left, no, right, up, down. Okay, great. Why did I even have to verbalize that? I could have much more quickly and intuitively moved the handle myself and gotten myself sorted 50 times faster. The next thing will shock you. You are physically around yourself literally all the time. So getting what you need for yourself is usually the fastest method anyway. If you want to take a drink and put it to your face, just doing it is the drink's right there versus having someone else do it. Well, is someone else always around you? That's nonsense. That's not the real world. We don't actually have a team of butlers following people around. That's crazy. The butlers might be in the kitchen and then they have to walk over, a few of them, and pick up your drink for you and put it in your face. That's a really nasty delay. Because you are the master of your own literal domain, that is your body and the space around you, you can access things much faster if you are indeed, well, just selfish, plain and simple. And there's a really awesome bonus to being selfish in this way. Selfishness we've defined as taking care of your own needs. And remember, your partner really wants your needs met because they love you and they care about you. And you're on a team together to get your needs met together. The big bonus here is that you get to deburden your partner of having to help you all the goddamn time, tending to you day and night, because you have first access, first ability, and you're just better in most cases at attending to your own needs. And remember that it's a real big benefit for you to deburden them because you love them and you probably don't want to burden them. So if you selfishly take care of your own wants and needs as much as you can in a relationship, it doesn't leave your partner with much that they have to do. And much more bandwidth opens up for letting them do what they want to do, what you both want to do instead of have to do. So if someone is squared away, that's a very good thing for the other person. And another point on top of that, you can best help other people, specifically in this case, your partner relationship, only when you're already yourself sorted. That is, only when your wants and needs are met already can you best help another person. This is the literal reason why in airplane gas masks that fall out during emergencies, the instructions say to attach your own mask to your face before helping others. Why? Because if a child next to you, your child, passes out of oxygen deprivation as you put on your own mask, you can put their mask on for them while they're unconscious. Air will start flowing, and they're almost always, unless the unconsciousness lasted for minutes and minutes, going to be just fine. They're going to gain consciousness. Oxygen is already flowing. However, if you try to put on their mask before you've put on yours, you may lose consciousness halfway through putting on their mask, which means you're dead and they're dead. People who have not attended to their needs, who still have wants and needs that are unmet, are not in the best position to be helping other people. To make a really gnarly point out of this, I don't mean this entirely, but it does have a grain of truth to it. No offense, but there's a certain kind of sad irony in a sense in folks who say they really care about the poor in society deeply. And at the same time, they're not in lucrative work themselves. They chose to go into a profession that makes them feel good versus a profession that generates crazy sums of cash. If you have a certain intellectual bandwidth that's, let's say, quite high, it is probably a better idea for you to go into stock trading and take almost all the money that doesn't go into feeding you and housing you and cleaning you so that you can just go back to work and make more money, and taking that money and using it to help the poor, potentially millions of dollars a year. Versus if you go into some sort of work like journalistic work or something, which is valuable in and of itself, absolutely. But most of your income goes to taking care of your own needs, and there's not a ton left for other people. So it's very easy to say, well, you should be helping others, but only when you are able to help yourself, have helped yourself, and now have lots of bandwidth and potentially resources to help other people, are you most useful. If Superman was disabled, he wouldn't be Superman. That is not a joust at disabled folks. It is a simple realization of something obvious. Once and only once someone else is safe themselves, which Superman is always safe, can they render safety onto other people. Self-sacrifice is worthless if there's not much of you to sacrifice. If a regular person runs in front of a train to prevent a child from being killed as they stand on the tracks, well, let's assume it's an autonomous train that doesn't have people on it, just to keep the philosophy here simple. If a regular person runs in front of a train, that's 2 dead people. If Superman runs in front of a train, well, hundreds of $millions of collateral damage, but 1 saved child, because Superman has already squared away his ability to step in front of a train. In just the same way, if you're super selflessly interested in taking care of your partner, you had better checkbox yourself first, because then you put yourself into that awesome position of having the freedom and resources and bandwidth to take care of them as best as you can. If you are not yourself by yourself taken care of, you are a fucking liability instead of an asset. And that's not a really good thing. When someone is sick, for example, and their partner is caring for them, I'd say, Jim's taking care of his wife. She's real sick. We kind of assume that Jim is the healthy person and that they're handling all of their own needs and the needs of their sick partner. In other words, when we're really actually needed, it's assumed that we can handle our own shit. It would be weird to give a call from the president to the hostages and say, hey, look, the Navy SEALs were going to come get you, but the water's really cold. And well, frankly, they got real scared. What the fuck? I thought they were good with whatever plus saving us. It's assumed that capability is the genesis of being able to help other people. And so if you want to help your partner as much as possible, you had better at least be what I call foundationally capable, which is to handle minimally your own daily affairs. If you want to be the best partner, having all of your shit sorted frees you to help your partner that much more. And then you can help them a ton if you wish. And here's the really cool thing. If you're both really good at sorting yourselves, all of your interactions together can be purely for joy, which is amazing. That would be truly unbelievable. Lastly, last reason, I think a compelling one for an increased amount of selfishness in relationships, an odd way to put it, but no less, is that your self-care has the potential to bring your partner a high degree of peace. What does that mean? The reality is that you can't really be with your partner 100% of the time, outside of that week in middle school where you were glued to your girlfriend or some shit like that. So because you can't be 100% of the time together, when you're apart, does your partner worry about you and worry if you're getting the care that you need? If they are worried, wouldn't you want them to not worry? I mean, worry is a negative emotion if you ask me. If someone told me my wife was worried, my first concern would be, how do I make her unworried? Why is she worried? How do we reduce the worry? Not good. I want that bitch to worry. God damn it. It's a sign of love. Ugh, that feels all sorts of wrong. One of the ways in which your partner can ease their worries about you is when they know that you've got your shit sorted. You've got yourself handled, that you are selfish enough to take care of your needs. If, let's say a mom, let's say she's a single mother, we'll use the ultimate example here, has to skip out of town for an overnight quick interview of her life type of thing. Seattle called and they want to see if you're their new reporter. And she's like, yeah, I've got to take an overnight flight. See, yeah. It's an overnight flight in a dirigible, so it takes all night. In any case, does she have a better time on her interview trip if she just hopes to God her 14 and 16-year-old kids who she left at home can for one fucking day of their lives just get dressed and go to school and come home safely and not burn the house down? Or if she can relax knowing that her really quite apt and able children are always on their A game with school and homework and responsible decisions in general. If mom knows you're a fuck up that needs a lot of help, it is nerve-wracking for her to leave you for the interview of her life that if she gets the job is better for the whole relationship, you and her and your sister, whatever. But on the other hand, if she knows you've got it covered, that is a huge benefit. So in that relationship as a teenager, by you being selfish enough to take care of all of your needs, not relying on her and other people, you can make mom feel a whole lot better when she cannot be around you physically. Do you want to be a burden to someone, or do you want them to feel confident that you are real good at getting your own needs met until you are back in their arms? A real world example for myself is that my wife often goes on, or occasionally goes on business trips kind of around the world for a week at a time here and there because she has a job where she is one of the team doctors for USA Figure Skating. Now, here's some good news. I know that she is ultra competent. In fact, my wife is one of the most competent people that I've ever met. And I know she doesn't need me, so I don't really worry about her because she never needed me and she still doesn't. And when she's in another country, she doesn't need me still. She'd like to have me around, but that's very different than need. So I don't have to worry about her. And on her end, I think, she knows that I can at least probably not burn the house down and not lose the dog, so she probably doesn't worry about me too much. We just miss each other, which is kind of the romantic silver lining of emotions you could be feeling in that situation. Because if someone really couldn't or didn't take care of themselves, man, that person who left for a week could be in a real shitty headspace with tons of worry and grief because they think, God damn it, that other person that I'm in a partnership with, who knows what they're up to? I wonder if they're at least getting their needs met. That's one of the reasons why moms have such a hard time letting their kids go to overnight camp when they're little. I just hope they're eating right in that whole situation. If someone can get their needs met and you are in love with them and you want them to get their needs met, then you are much better at meeting that genuine concern over your partner's well-being with that understanding that they can get their needs met versus, well, who knows, which is a really bad deal if you really care about somebody. So to round this out, summary and implications. The purpose of a relationship is to make everyone in it better off than if they were without the relationship, than if they were not in the relationship. That is logically the only reason people should at least be in a relationship. And if you can handle the stuff about yourself that you are in the best position to handle, you get a huge way towards the way of checking your own box of all of your needs. If the other person can also handle themselves very well, then you're like 90% of the way to your own happiness right there, which curiously intersects with another observation. A lot of times, folks who are relationship counselors or psychologists in that realm, something I don't know a ton about, but I know this, if you need a relationship to make you whole or complete, or you need someone to make you happy, you're probably going to have to do a little bit more soul searching and confidence building and ability generation before you're the best candidate for a relationship. The best people in a relationship are good with it. They're okay without the relationship. They're okay without it and great with it. So that if at least both people can be okay without the relationship, after that, once they're together, because everything is normally sorted without each other, the only things left to do are things that you can't do for yourself and actually need/prefer the other person to do. Things like going on dates, telling jokes to each other. You can tell jokes to yourself. I do it all the time to myself, and I laugh in the shower alone. I wouldn't call that happiness. Cuddling, sex things, etc. So if you each have the basics of yourself squared away, you're properly selfish, not in a negative way, you can have the relationship be mostly for fun things or things that are not fun, but things you cannot do for yourself and your partner cannot do for themselves. And then it's just a matter of checking those boxes. It would be much nicer if relationships were either for very necessary things you can't do alone or for very fun things versus for a whole lot of almost everything. And if folks just took care of themselves and met as equals, or rather as masters of their domain, we would be in relationships that are at the very least more pleasant and probably much more functional and much closer to accomplishing that gold star goal of what a relationship entails. It entails that both people are closer to meeting everyone's needs in that relationship. And with the beginning, the progenitor, the onus, the centrality being on selfishness, once you check that box of self-care, it makes everything better and allows you to put much more bandwidth towards giving that other person what they want and need that they can't get without you and you can't get without them. Let me know if that made any sense, and I'll see you guys next time.